As Rangers fans, we know that a goaltender is the backbone of a hockey team. At Abundant Wealth Management, we are your financial backbone, offering financial planning, wealth management, tax planning, and estate planning services. To schedule your free consultation, head to www.abundant-wealth.com. That's www.abundant-wealth.com. Abundant Wealth Management. Live, plan, triumph.
You're listening to Rangers Radio, your home for end-to-end coverage of the New York Rangers. With your hosts, Brendan Azoff, Zach Domino, and Steve Pappas. Blue Shirts fans, the puck drops now.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rangers Radio. We got the boys all back. I feel like it's more rare right now that we have all three of us on the screen but we have it, and it's an exciting time for us to be on the show, but it's not an exciting time for us to be Rangers fans as the team continues to play piss poor hockey. And although everybody around them seems to be handing them this wild card spot, they seemingly just have no desire to grasp it, and that's where we are right now. We're going to talk about the game against Calgary, how bad that was. We're going to talk about all the other lackluster stuff that's going on, about Chris Jury and all of that. Duke looks like he's frozen. So maybe
he's there.
Oh, he's just a mannequin. Oh, my God.
What's more rare?
Right?
What's more rare? All three of us together at once, or the New York Rangers shooting the puck on net in a 60-minute hockey game against the Calgary Flames?
I think the shooting the puck.
It's just awful.
We've done it more than 13 times.
This team is just awful. And, I'm a negative guy to begin with, so I'll throw that out there to begin with just to start this whole rant. But, this team just stinks. It's not that granted, they're not trying. They don't care. Nobody on this team fucking cares. And it's so painfully obvious that this team doesn't care. It is just the most egregious 60 minutes of hockey you'll watch night in and night out. They're going to go out and play Toronto tonight. They're going to get the shit kicked out of them. We're going to be back here again tonight saying the same thing we said after we saw the Calgary game. And I know I've kind of just jumped in here because, there's only so much you could say about this team that's already been said this year. It's the same shit from the same people, the same time. They had 4 forwards with shots on goal in that game on Monday. 4 forwards with shots on goal. It was Miller, it was Panarin, it was Zibanejad, and I think Kreider. I don't know. But 4 forwards with shots on goal in a 60-minute game is in a race that you're trying to make the postseason. Both of those teams are sitting there 1 point in or 1 point out of the postseason, and you score in your first shot and then have 6 more for the next 38 minutes and 30 seconds, whatever it was. I had some time to think about this, and I really thought about tweeting it after the game, but I wanted to save it for this show. It's the fact that when you look back on this core, whenever 10, 15 years down the line, when we're old and we're looking back at this era of New York Rangers hockey, this core is going to be known for 2 things. This core is going to be known for the group that went to the Eastern Conference Finals 2 of 4 years, which is not a easy feat to do. It's very hard to do that. Most teams would take that. But I think the other part of what this team is going to get remembered for is they're quitters. This core is quitters. They are a bunch of quitters. What happened? They go 2022. They don't really have expectations going into the year. They have this magical run. They make the conference final and lose to a better Tampa Bay team. Whatever. What comes the next year? You start the season slow, and then there's all this infighting between the team and Gerard Gallant. And then you go out at the deadline and you go get Patrick Kane, you get Tarasenko, you get Nico Mikkola. And then what happens at the end of the year? Team quits on Gerard Gallant because they don't like him. They don't like the way he's treating players. They don't like the ice time that they're getting. So they quit on him. And they probably should have beaten the Devils in that playoff series. I think they were the better team overall than the Devils, but they quit on their coach. Last year, what happens? They go out and they have this magical season. They run the table. They go, wire to wire, basically, win the President's Trophy, 7 in a row to start the postseason, just to fall in the conference finals again. Nothing to sneeze at. That's still an incredible accomplishment. But then what happens this year? Or even it starts in the summer, where your general manager wave/trades, whatever you want to call it, Barclay Goodrow, which then pisses off your captain. Your captain's name gets thrown out into the trade ring along with your longest tenured player in Chris Kreider. That ruffles some feathers inside the organization. And now the players don't like your general manager. So what do? They quit on him. They quit on the general manager. And I'm not giving Chris Drury a pass because by no means is he, skating by in this. But the players themselves, when they don't like what's happening at the top, or if they don't like what's happening behind the bench, this core just quits. And it's consistent now because it's happened twice. It's happened twice when things don't go well for the New York Rangers core. And specifically, I will say Chris Kreider. I will say Mika Zibanejad. I will say Artemi Panarin. I will even say Alexis Lafreniere. If you want Vincent Trocheck as well. They quit. They just quit when they don't get their way. And it's just a group of losers that I'm so sorry, but 14 more games or whatever the hell the number is, this season can't end any faster. If this team makes the playoffs, I'm going to be upset. I don't need to see this team in the playoffs. They don't want to be in the playoffs. They don't want to play the games at the moment to get into the playoffs. So I'm so sick of it. And Monday was not the straw that broke the camel's back because that straw was a long time ago. But, after a game in Edmonton or a game against Edmonton where you could have won, but, you got outskilled by the best player on the planet, whatever. But then to come out and just, against the team that's also fighting for a playoff spot and played, by the way, the night before.
I think as a polite way to describe how they played.
But I mean, to go out there and, I've never seen Steve Valiquette. I've never seen John Giannone speak the way that they spoke about this team after that game against Calgary. Steve said there's no bigger slam dunk than going into that game against a backup goaltender who played the night before because their starter gave up 6 in Toronto. And then to turn around, have to travel, don't get into New York City until 3 o'clock in the morning to then go out and play a game against another team that's battling for a playoff spot. And by the way, you score within the first minute and a half. That should, a regular team then goes on and dominates that game. But if you have 22 guys that just don't give a shit, that's what happens. Then you go 40 minutes with 6 shots on goal, and you got to scramble in the third. And thank God Igor Shesterkin is on this team because that game should have been 8-1. I mean, what's his face? Rasmus Anderson chirping at Shesterkin from the bench. You're not worth it. Bro, you're sitting there watching it. Shots are 24-7. Scores 2-1. Are you stupid? Are you fucking? That's not the guy to go after on this team. You want to go after anybody else? They're free reign. You go after the goaltender, the only guy that's really keeping this team alive. Fucking idiot. I'm done. Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, if you put Igor Shesterkin, if you gave him the Hartford team and threw him out against Calgary, that game's probably the same. Honestly, maybe more action. 13 shots is embarrassing. None of the shots besides the first one were ever dangerous. This team is I don't want to use words that people don't like out there, so I'm just going to say stupid, but everyone knows the word that I'm trying to say. This team is just stupid. It's they're morons. They don't shoot, and when they shoot, they hit somebody that's right in front of them. They don't know how to shoot and they don't want to shoot. And then I was hysterically laughing during the Edmonton game where we're down 3-1 with 50 seconds left. And these fucking morons are playing tic-tac-toe around the outside of the zone. We're losing. There's 50 seconds left. We need 2 goals. And these guys are acting like it's 0-0 and we're on a power play 5 minutes into the game trying to find that perfect shot, which I even have a problem with then, but at least it sort of makes sense. You're down 3-1. Just start throwing pucks at the net. Literally throwing pucks at the net, but you got Panarin passing it backwards to Fox, who's passing it across the ice to Miller, who's passing it across to Panarin. I literally shut off my TV because I'm this is embarrassing. From 53 seconds to 28 seconds, they were just passing it around the outside of the ice. And then that kind of just led into the Calgary game where I was stupid enough to believe after we scored that first goal, what Valiquette said, we were going to run away with it. 13 shots. 13 shots is embarrassing. 13 shots is the only stat you need to look at to see if this team is checked out or not. 13 shots isn't even shitting on the Rangers because they're doing that thing where they're trying to find the perfect shot. 13 shots is like you don't even give a fuck. Like you're not even trying. Like you don't even care. And honestly, even though he scored, I hate Artemi Panarin. I think he's awful. I think he kind of is like, to go with a guy that Steve had to deal with last year, my team's going after now. He's kind of like Aaron Rodgers, where if your team's good, sure, he's fantastic, but he's probably the last guy you want on a team that's struggling, because when he doesn't care, like he's bad. Like he doesn't make any simple passes. Like if the puck's on his stick, he's either trying to make the most outrageous pass of all time or trying to stick handle through 5 people. The amount of times you can just pass it to the guy next to him, have that guy dump the zone, or the guy around him's kind of weaving around him, and he can just one-off it. Like, if it's not a backhanded pass across the neutral zone, that guy's keeping the stick, keeping the puck attached to his stick. And the amount of times he has turnovers and, like, just kills possession because he tries to carry, like, the entire 5-man unit on his stick is just ridiculous.
I don't mean to cut you off, but it's actually really funny, and it's not like a shot at Steve Valiquette at all, but he called Jack Hughes Instagram hockey earlier in the year. This team is Instagram hockey.
Dude,
this
at least Jack
team
Hughes has skill and is fat. Like, Artemi Panarin at this point is a poor man's Jack Hughes. Like, that's all he is. Like, he can't skate.
That's also, like, giving Panarin too much credit.
Yeah, like, he's like a homeless man's Jack Hughes. Like, he try and plays that style, but at least Hughes is quick. At least Hughes can get around guys. Panarin's one of the slowest players, like, on the team, of a team of slow people. Like, when he gets one-on-ones, he has to do that thing where he goes down the side and cuts back. He's always cutting back because he can never beat anyone. That's why the only way he can score is on a 2-on-1 where the defender takes the other man, and he's still got a good shot because he's still good. But his style of hockey...
Shoot the puck on a 2-on-1. Good things happen when you shoot the puck on a 2-on-1.
His style of hockey is not conducive to being a line driver anymore because he's not that good and he's not that fast. He's next to Alexei Lafreniere, who just sucks. And, like, he gets a free pass because he's young and, like, there's so many other bad contracts we had to deal with or are still dealing with.
Well, they gave him his own bad contract.
This offseason. He's the one because he's the one with the longest term on his contract and the one that, like, if people probably aren't watching the Rangers because why the fuck would you? They're terrible. Maybe we sneak. And maybe we could sell someone on the fact that he's still so young. And with the cap going up, maybe you can, like, do 7.5. But when this offseason starts and we're having episodes, sure, Mika, if you can move him. Sure, Kreider, if you can move him. Lafreniere is the one that, like, I want to go more than anything. Because he is just awful. He brings nothing to the table. And the thing that's sad about him is, I forget what game it was recently. There was one game in the past 20. So it should stick out to me. He was engaged. It was the game where he scored the goal early on, so it makes sense he was engaged.
Yeah,
but he did
Columbus.
nothing. He made that whole play. He can do shit. He's big. He has handles. Like, he could do stuff. His hockey IQ is just negative. Like,
but when you do not care, it doesn't happen for you.
He doesn't care. And, like, for him, it's like, what the hell has he ever accomplished except for 7 games this season where he fooled Chris Drury into giving him a contract? It's just like, on offense, there's no one that's good. Like, JT Miller is a really good piece. JT Miller can't be your best player. Like, I just think we've learned that. Artemi Panarin can't be your best player. Mika Zibanejad can't be your best forward. Chris Kreider can't be your best forward. Like, who in your top 6 that the Rangers have right now can be the best player on a good team? Nobody. Like, Adam Fox, I still think he's incredible. Since he's come back from injury, like, he does some stuff with the puck on his stick that is ultimately incredible. Like, he's so calm when he's getting forechecked, but, like, the other 5, like, like, Miller has moments. Like, Will Borgen's like a working man's second right defenseman that there's many other guys out there that you could probably get for Will Borgen. I like him, but, like, who are you writing home about this team except for Adam Fox and Igor Shesterkin? And it's very plain to see that you can't build a team around a right defenseman that really has hockey IQ and isn't like Makar.
Well, you can, but the problem is that as soon as he came back, they put him with Urho Vakanainen instead of DeAndre Miller
tonight. Like, he went to they got rid of Lindgren to put him with Lindgren. There's literally nothing to look forward to this season than to see, like, can Keandre Miller play with Fox, because that's not even for this year. That's for the fucking future. Like, everyone knows the Rangers got to get a first left defenseman. That changes the type of player you got to get. If Miller can be the guy that can play next to Fox, then you can get a 2 left defenseman next to fucking Borgen and spend some money on a forward. Or you realize that Keandre Miller isn't that guy. You move on for him, or you give him second line defenseman money, and then you get a first left defenseman. Like Chris Drury needs to realize that the rest of this season is more so for the future than this season because the team sucks. And playing Keandre Miller next to Adam Fox is the experiment. It should have been happening all season. But for the rest of the season, for this offseason, you got to see if he's the guy because it changes what you're going to do this offseason. But what's going to happen is they're not going to do that. And then Drury's going to sell himself on that he's the guy. And without even seeing it, they're going to go in and pay Miller this big money to put him next to Fox. And it's just a joke at this point. You got to try some stuff out. The fact that we're sitting guys that potentially have a future with this team to play guys that have no future with this team, to take on guys with term that, like, who the fuck is going to take Susi this offseason? And now we got to give him $3.5 million. Who the fuck is going to take Vakanen? And obviously we had to extend him similarly with Borgen when no one was fucking going after him this year. It's just like it keeps getting worse. Like, it keeps getting worse to the point where you're going to have to offload some real assets to give up some of this shit that you have now.
They don't have
assets. We're not going to have a first round pick for years. Like, it's getting crazy. Yeah. And like, what did we trade for Riley Miller? A second and a fifth? Sorry, Riley Smith. Then we got a third and gave it for Susi. So we gave up, what did we get? A second for Susi? Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
Bad, you got Pat Brisson in that deal too.
Yeah, I mean, great.
Which nobody's going to sign with the Rangers anyway.
Drury thinks he's the smartest man in the world because he's got the son of like an agent, and he's probably like swinging his fucking dick around for that move. And it's just like, we got a bunch of bad players on this team, and we got worse players at the deadline. Like, we filled this team with worse non-movable players. And the argument, quote me on this now, I'm not sure of this. There's a better chance than we all think that Laviolette's back next year. And that just is because Chris Drury is a fucking moron.
All right, to that point, I will say
that was 8.5 minutes.
To that point, I will say it is bad on Drury, on his resume, to sit there and every 2 years fire the head coach. So you make a good point.
It shouldn't be Drury's. Okay, I put out a tweet that said it's Drury down, everyone should be gone. And then people were like, oh, it's the players, it's not Drury. It's not mutually exclusive, okay?
All of them.
Wait, hang on.
Drury.
Dude, Tanner Glass is teaching these guys how to play hockey. like even down to the guys that are the skill guys weren't even skill guys in the NHL. Like what's going on here? What is going on with this team? It makes no sense. We need to go. We need to get JD back from Columbus. We need to rehire Gerard Gallant. And we need to say to all these fucking losers, if you don't like that, there's the fucking door.
I'm going to have to mute him.
I just going back to what he said after Game 7. He was right. Gerard Gallant was right. He was right about these guys. And maybe he sucks as a coach. Maybe, sure. But the guy knows hockey, and the guy knows how to win. And he was that exact player that, like, you need to win a Stanley Cup where he plays with the best player, and he's not the guy, but he's on that first line. He said it does not matter how much skill this core has. They don't have it. He told us 2 years ago, and we laughed at him. And we said, oh, Eastern Conference Finals. Oh, you took the Devils to 7. He knew exactly who these guys were.
Yeah, but
exactly who these guys were.
You could be dumb and be right once. Like, it's not just because he was right one time doesn't make him. I'm not backing the truck up for Gallant again. We've seen that experiment. We've seen how it goes. But Brendan, to my point, or to the point that I was making, it's, if you're Chris Drury and you're sitting here in year 6 of you being a general manager, and it seems like every 2 years you're firing a head coach, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted to keep Laviolette to save his own ass, if that's the case.
Absolutely. And that's why it has to go Drury down. It can't just go from players, because if you bring back Drury and Laviolette, you're going to go through the same thing with new players. Now, the Rangers to me are like that kid that gets a new toy for Christmas and they forget about all the other toys that they enjoyed playing with before. Because as soon as they got JT Miller, they put him on the right side where Panarin had success in the power play. They moved Panarin to Mika's spot and put Mika in the middle where he's utterly useless. And the only guy on this power play for years that has been the consistent factor in them scoring goals has been Chris Kreider in front with deflections and they refuse to get the puck down low because now they have JT Miller on that side, and they'd rather try to do this east-west crap that never works. And again, that yes, it's on the players, and yes, this core has run its course, and they have to be gone. But it's also on the coaching staff that this power play is now, one for its last 25, and they refuse to make any adjustments there. You're going through a game against Calgary where you clearly are getting hemmed into your own zone because you can't make that first pass. You're getting pressure all the time. Defensively, you're scrambling because of this man-to-man system, and the only adjustment Laviolette can make is in the third period. He changes up 2 lines. That's like, come on. This is supposed to be an NHL veteran head coach. You have to be able to adjust your systems. So it's not just the players, it's not just the coaches, it's not just the GM. It doesn't have to be one and not the others. It's all 3 levels of this organization
mad, dude.
that are
I'm
terrible.
Sitting here fucking fuming as you're talking because, like, now you're bringing up the power play. Fuck that bullshit. Defer that. I don't even take a guy off the ice when you're on the power play to do 4-on-4. Like, honestly, my wife was laughing at me at the Calgary game because I said this is the worst power play I've ever seen. She looked at me and she's like, yo, this is the 20th time you've said that this year. And I'm like, that's how fucking bad this power play is. And hockey's simple. You want to know why hockey's fucking simple? Because every time the 4th fucking line, the guys that have no skill are on the ice, they're forechecking and cycling the puck. Like Matt Rempe, Brodzinski, that line has no skill. 0 skill. It's just hardworking guys. And look how much if we look at our offensive zone time over the past 2 weeks, maybe not scoring chances because, again, they don't have that much skill. Offensive zone time is coming from the 4th line. And I know Laviolette's trying to, I guess he thinks he's got to save his job. But, again, that's the line where the minutes should be. It's not play the guys that are playing better than the other guys. Just do it. Just do it. There's just simple things that he's unwilling to fix that. Like you said, Brendan, it's like a perfect storm. You can get mad at any of them. You're right. If you get mad at Drury, you're right. You get mad at Laviolette, you're right. You get mad at the players, you're right. And if the GM sucks, the coach sucks, and the player sucks, plus the bottom 2, the coach and the players have given up, because I've seen some of the stuff Laviolette said. He knows that this season's over. So all 3 suck. 2 have given up. I'm barely going to watch. I'm going to have 2 screens on tonight. I'm going to be obviously watching the Rangers game. The sound's going to be on the NCAA tournament. The sound is going to be on the NCAA because I know it's going to happen. They're going to get a power play 2 minutes in because either JT Miller is going to try that macho shit or Zach Jones is going to wave his fucking stick around like it's a wand and he's a wizard and smack some guy in the face. And they're 4 for 4 in their last 4 power plays. So they'll score quick. I think what's going to be good tonight, and Steven used to like this during that December slump. That wasn't a slump. It was who this team was. This game will be 3-0 within 10 minutes, and we'll all be happy because we'll be able to turn it off and look at the standings and realize that we now have 3 games on hand against some teams that have more points than we're bad. We're only where we are in the standings because we played 2 more games than everyone else. So once these games come in hand, we're going to be 6 points behind the Islanders, 100 points behind the Canadians, who you can't even name a fucking player on their team, and they're outplaying us. The Blue Jackets, rest in peace, lost their best player in the offseason, and they're skating circles around us. It's not good. I would love if this team was just made up of what our 4th line is. No skill, really can't do anything with the puck on their stick, but they're trying. They're blocking shots. They're diving. I can't, when Artemi Panarin and Alexis Lafreniere go on the ice, I have to leave my room. I have to leave my room because what you're going to watch is you're going to watch guys that can't break the neutral zone. And then when they give up the puck, Panarin pretends he's tired. He pretends he's tired and he won't get back on defense. It's guys that don't belong on this team anymore. And as a Rangers fan, not to get too sentimental, but I don't want these fucking guys wearing a Rangers jersey anymore. How many times can Artemi Panarin give up the puck in the neutral zone and dog it back? And literally dog it back. And then he thinks he can do that because he has 2 minutes of brilliance every fucking game. And it's I do not want to watch these guys anymore. Call up everyone from Hartford, give them all Rangers jerseys, stick Igor Shesterkin in the net, and what happened against Calgary will just the same thing will happen. the same thing will happen. And maybe if you treat these guys like shit, we know because they're all bitches, they'll complain during the offseason, they'll waive their no trade clauses, and see you later. See you later, you group of losers.
My favorite part about all of this is that if the Rangers win tonight, Zook's going to be the first one.
He's going to be back.
Going, oh yeah, we're sniffing the playoffs, baby.
No, he went a solid
the other teams did.
He went a solid 6 weeks of his mic not working, and then just went on about a 30-minute rant with the mic never once cutting in and out. So I'll give you props on that one.
This is the type of shit that I just
besides Igor, Fox, and Cooley, if you told me the rest of the team, you have to keep
JT,
them.
Yeah, I'm hoping JT, because you can't say
whatever. If you keep Fox, you keep Cooley, you keep Igor. If you told me you had to keep the rest of the team next year, or you got rid of everyone else and you put every single other NHL player's name in a hat that added up to the cap, and you just randomly pulled them, randomly pull the fucking names, randomly pull the names like this. We have Sam Carrick as our 3C. Sam
for no
Carrick
reason at all. You have 3 centers on the top 6 that you could. It hasn't worked.
Mika needs to go back
Mika's
to
advantage ahead. Trocheck.
Yes. Trocheck sucks too. Oh my god, I haven't even gotten to him. Vinny Trocheck sucks, and we got fooled because Vinny Trocheck was supposed to be the 3C, and he is a 3C. And then Hedl got hurt, and Panarin and Lafreniere were great for a season with Trocheck 5-on-5. That we tricked ourselves into thinking that Vinny Trocheck was a lot better than he is. This team doesn't need a 3C. This team needs a 2C next year, unless you're going to run back Zibanejad and hope. But to what you just said, Brendan, again, because we're talking about the rest of the year is to try things, JT Miller's 1C, Mika's 2C, and Trocheck's 3C, and put some different wings around them. But this team sucks, and they're not deep when you have your 3C as Sam Carrick, who I love. I love Sam Carrick, but he's a 4th center. He's a 4th center, and he's just playing way out of pocket. And Johnny, we're playing guys that other teams would have as fringe guys as our 3 and 4C. It's ridiculous.
I like Johnny Brodzinski.
I love Johnny Brodzinski, but he's the bright spot of a lot of games. We can't come out of games saying Johnny Brodzinski's our bright spot. He skates hard and he shoots
the puck. That's all he does, and it works.
And that goes to our 4th line. That's all our 4th line does. And it looks amazing. Other teams probably watch our 4th line play, and they're like, that's not that good. But us Rangers fans, we watch it, and we say, what the fuck is this? We got a guy below the net who's forechecking, who gets the puck back to the defenseman, who either shoots it or passes it to Brodzinski in the slot, who gets a shot. It's like hockey is simple. And when you suck, you should keep it as simple as possible. But this team does the opposite. When they're pressing, they try and make that extra pass. They try and make that extra pass instead of just putting the puck on net. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what to fucking do. This team sucks. And Igor's I feel Igor should ask for a trade. Igor should ask for a trade because Chris Drury is going to build these bullshit teams around him. And he was amazing against Calgary. He was if he played for 29 other teams and he played that way, not a single other team would have lost that game. We were the only team that could have lost. 13 shots. 13 shots. Our expected goals was 0.7. Not even a full goal. You have to round to get a full goal with our expected goals. 0.7. 0.7. In a game you needed to win. In a game you needed to win.
So what you're saying is
up more than 13 shots, and how many of those shots were meh. And then when these bozos shoot, they're shooting it right into the shins of the guy standing. Do they practice anything? I don't know what to say. Do they practice? Somebody answer me.
It sounds like you do know what to say. You got a lot to say, is what you got to say.
Do they practice? And what do they practice? I want someone to tell me what this team practices, because they can't play 5-on-5. They can't play 5-on-4. The only fucking thing that these guys can do, I love when we take a penalty. When we take a penalty, I'm like, we may score. We may score on the penalty kill. We may score. It might be the coolest thing ever, but come on. Come fucking on, man.
So what you're saying is we should bench Brandon Othman?
I mean,
yes, he should, because he's not a fourth line player. That whole thing has been moronic, and this is why
he should be on the first fucking line or the second fucking line. Just throw him out there.
Before Zook goes nuts for the next 15
Duke,
minutes.
I'm muting you for 5 minutes so we can get the rest of us in. You've been muted. You're in timeout.
I want to say that when I look at the Rangers, right? Zook mentioned that they're not going to be able to trade Lafreniere, and you got to try to sneak something in. I don't think that's going to be a problem, because every team knows if you take a guy like that from the Rangers, odds are they're going to wind up working out for your team, because if you use them properly, they'll be good. And the problem with the Rangers is that they don't use these players properly, right? Brendan Othmann, you drafted in the first round, 15th overall. He's lighting it up in Hartford on the special teams side of it. Not great 5-on-5 numbers, but he's a scoring forward. He's supposed to be a top 6 forward. So what do? You call him up, put him in a role where he has to play defense first, which I'm fine with, but you can't play him 7 minutes a night alongside Matt Rempe and Sam Carrick and expect him to all of a sudden start to, do what you wanted a first overall pick to do. And if you're not going to give him any time on the power play at all, then it's really irrelevant for you to have called him up at this point, when you have Brett Berard, who should have been playing all along. And the loss of Adam Edstrom, I think, has hurt them tremendously, especially in terms of how they're structuring their lineup, because there was no question of who the fourth line was, and everything else in the top 9 had to get rearranged. But right now, to me, it's more so management and coaching decisions that are screwing them over as of late. And then the players are just following suit, because, like you said, Steven, it's not a group that has any type of resilience, right? I mean, I just watched Clemson be down 22 with 6 minutes left in March Madness and come all the way back and lose by 2. Yeah, they lost, but at least the players gave a shit. The Rangers are sitting here in a game where their goaltender was literally standing on his dome. He's getting chirped at by all these people. He's getting run into left and right. He's the only one standing up for himself. Everybody else is skating off the ice at the end of the second while he's at the Calgary bench going nuts with all these guys. Nobody has any pride. And, instead of going out in the third period and trying to mount a comeback, they come out in the third period just as flat as they did the first 2. And there's just nothing that's acceptable about that. I don't know how, as a teammate, you go in the locker room and you look at Shesterkin after that game and go, oh, well, we tried at least, and we're sorry we let you down. You can't do it. You can't even look him in the eye after a game like that, and that's the problem with this team. So, yes, this offseason, I don't care what it takes, but the majority of these players have to be gone, and it cannot be Drury that's the one that's allowed to make these moves. It has to be a new face, a new GM, a new direction, and it's time to actually do a rebuild. And, yeah, you can call it a retool because you have some guys that you're probably not going to give up, and you just signed a goalie to $11.5 million a year for 8 years, but you got to go in a new direction. All these players that have been here for years have to be gone. It hasn't worked. It doesn't work for other teams, and they find a way to get rid of things quicker. And I really am at the point where I'd rather watch a team that's bad because they're going through a rebuild than watch a team that's bad because they just have players that are talented that don't care.
Yeah, shout out Louis, by the way. I don't know if he's watching right now, but shout out Louis for this tweet. But in 3 games last year, Othman's most common line mate was Nick Bonino. And in 14 games this year, his most common line mate is Matt Rempe. So
what do you expect him to do?
What do you expect a guy to do who's offensively talented? And let me be clear on this, because I've been very harsh on Matt Rempe's entire NHL career. That's a guy who cares. That's a guy who, and it takes a fourth liner, but that's a guy who gives a shit. That's a guy who skates hard. That's a guy who competes for pucks, who battles in the corner. It's a lot easier when you're 6'8" or whatever, how tall he is, to battle in the corners, as long as you're tough. But his skating is noticeably better than it was a year ago. He looks quicker. I think I've seen him on at least 5 2-on-1s in the last 2 months. When was the last time? When did you see him on a 2-on-1 last year or at any point in the early part of the year?
He's been the least of their problems.
No, he's not. But my point is, you can't put an offensively gifted guy like Brennan Othmann with guys that aren't and expect him to succeed. You're basically uprooting what he does and trying to make him be a different player when he isn't. He could be a good defensive player, sure. But where he's going to succeed and where he's going to be a difference maker is on the power play, and it's going to be playing with skill guys because that's his game. But we're sitting here with a head coach that just continues to any guy that's under the age of 22 that hasn't been here since they're 18 just immediately has to play with the fourth line. It's like they immediately have to play with guys that have absolutely no skill. And And, there's no secret as to why this organization is so piss poor at developing talent, is because the guys that come up play with nobody. And part of it is because this team is a bunch of nobodies at this point. And it's infuriating. And who knows what's going to happen with Gabe Perreault and at the end of their season, if he's going to sign or if he's not. I know they signed Noah Laba and he's going to be in the AHL for the rest of the year. But, if Gabe Perreault comes up this year and I see him playing with Sam Carrick, I'm going to throw something through my television. You can't do that.
Come up.
We didn't even talk about that, but that's actually a quality.
Better than the line
player
that we put him with in the pros. Like, that's just how we fucking operate. To this point, and I was going to say it before I even saw it, Othman and Loft should have been switched games ago. Put Loft's bum scrub ass on that fourth line and make him work for any playing time, and let the kid, like we all know that his game is offensively talented when it comes to Brennan Othman, play with some higher talented people and see if he can do anything. Because Loft's done absolutely nothing being put next to some of our best talent. It's like this team doesn't understand roster construction, and they just think all lines do the same thing. But the first line gets the most minutes, the second gets the second most, the third gets the third most, and the fourth gets the fourth most, and you got to work your way up. But what the first and second line is asked to do is different than the third and fourth line.
I'm going to cut you off because the lineups
the lines. Oh my god,
lineups are out. Miller and Fox are playing together. Othman,
let's go.
Othman, Parson, and Berard. So Matt Rempe has been. Oh, he's sick. Matt Rempe's sick, so that's why he's not playing tonight. But yeah, Miller, Fox,
swap the third and the fourth line, and then maybe we're doing something. But
Miller, Fox, Susie, Borgen, Jones, Schneider, DeHaan, and Vakanainen are scratches tonight.
But that top six just remains untouchable.
Yep.
What have they done over the course of this season to remain untouchable? And like you said, the fact that there is no accountability is that's why, to me, it's like it's got to be coaching. I know you can't recycle coaches. We talked about that, but how do you look at that top six and not hold anybody accountable? I mean, you could look around the league at players that have been scratched over the course of this season alone by their head coaches, and there's a lot of players who are better than most of the guys in the Rangers top six who just have never been scratched. So how does that make any sense? How can you have extra skaters and these guys around and just not hold anybody accountable? But Matt Rempe takes a bad penalty, he gets scratched, or he gets benched, and good, but we're saving 3 minutes of ice time a game from that. But, Lafreniere turns it over. These other guys turn it over, and nothing. Zibanejad literally had the puck on his stick against Calgary and skated it into the Calgary forward that was forechecking him, and just never once looked straight ahead.
No, but if they won that game, it would have been fine. If they won that game, then it was fine.
I texted you that quote. That quote pissed me off. It's not fine. That's the reason you have not won a cup, is because that's the effort you do put in and win games, and you think it's fine. It's not fine.
And if you put Zibanejad as a center, which the wing Zibanejad movement was cool, but it ruins this team. It just ruins this team because that line isn't good enough to carry, and it really makes
Miller's with Fox though.
Yeah, that's great. It really makes our team.
It only took 70 games to do it.
If Zibanejad went back to center, it opens up a wing spot for somebody young. Like, it opens up Othman to move. Like, the reason why Laviolette's really keeping Zibanejad as a winger is because it's keeping the young guys down. Because now we could say, oh, there's no spots. There's no spots. We got to play these guys. But if Mika was your 2C and Trocheck was your 3C, maybe we're seeing a line of Lafreniere, JT, and Othman. And I would love to see Othman next to JT, because I think, like, again, we're talking about poor man's players. Like, Othman's style of play is similar to JT. Like, it's that grit. It's a goal scoring, but goal scoring as a power forward, not really through skill. Like, I would just love to see what Brennan Othman can do if you put him on an offensive line. And maybe he stinks, but we don't know. And you know what we do know? He's not a fourth line checking winger. He's also not a fourth line checking winger. So why would you, like, he's better off in Hartford getting big minutes than doing this, but the team doesn't understand that.
Here's the thing. You also have those guys in Hartford. If you want somebody to play that role, you just trade
Exactly.
He is a guy that is a piece of shit, like, run you through the wall for checking forward. So
Alex Belzile, who they got.
Alex Belzile. Like, there are guys that have been NHL tested, that you've seen what they have at the NHL level. Aube-Kubel's he's not a great NHL player, but if you're going to put him on your fourth line to be a checking forward, That's his game. That's who he is. But no, we're going to set the guy who's sitting here trying to score 30 goals in the American Hockey League and force him to be a power forward. It makes no fucking sense whatsoever.
Alex Belzile is a point per game player in the AHL right now. And
he's the perfect fourth liner in the NHL. What the Rangers are trying to do.
This whole thing, this whole year has just been, it's been abysmal to me and how it's been handled, from the roster to the coaching to the management. And it's something where when you look at this team, I can say with the utmost confidence that there has been not one decision that has been correct made behind the bench this year. And to me, that's fireable. And I know I was calling for him to be fired in December when everybody was like, oh, it's a slump. Well, if it's a slump, every other team that has a slump that's expected to make the playoffs and go on a run gets rid of that coach that's responsible for the slump, because you can't trade the entire team in December. It just doesn't happen. It's not something you could do, especially with all the clauses that they give, because Chris Drury does not believe that contracts can be signed without offering some sort of no trade protection to the player. He must have, when he went to GM school after he retired from the NHL, he must have skipped that day of classes where, it was talked about that you don't have to offer a no trade clause to every goddamn player on the team. So now the fact that he's handicapped himself in that regard, and then on top of that is just trading for players like Carson Soucy, who are just taller Ryan Lindgrens for next year, and then signing Vakanainen. So now our left D went from we don't even know who's going to be there to now we have two guys who we don't even want there who are now under contract. And what are you going to do with Keandre Miller and Zach Jones, who are the two guys that you probably should have brought back? So,
man, Keandre Miller has to be the most underappreciated player on this team. And I've been screaming it for now 2 years. Keandre Miller is their second best defenseman, and there's no close
dude
player.
He's gotten the
that's my old sports director. Chris, what are you doing in here?
I don't want to answer that
question.
Yeah, he has a ton of faults, but you only hear about Keandre Miller when he has because he's volatile when he has that bad game that he makes some bad plays. But he's
Miller,
head and shoulders above everyone else, not named Adam Fox.
Keandre Miller is the number one defenseman on 70% of National Hockey League teams.
He can't make a pass. It's one of the things that has
peeved me about him. I guarantee he's going to be so good. I mean, the stats show it. Steven always says the stats, and I'm pretty sure other people were tweeting it this week. Miller and Fox are the number one rated defensive pairing.
I'm just talking about Miller as a whole. Miller as a whole, sure, every now and then, he makes a stupid play against Ottawa.
He would be so good if he was able to just make that first pass consistently.
But
I don't think that people.
He's not an offensive defenseman. I don't believe he's an offensive.
But he doesn't have to be, because I don't think that people understand how important. If you're a generic hockey fan, just looking at the stats and all of that, you don't understand the importance of a first pass. The reason the Rangers can't get out of the zone all the time is because not only can their defensemen, not named Fox, make that first pass consistently, but their forwards, especially the wingers, do not get into the spots that you need to be to receive the pass. And that's why they're always hemmed into their own end. And Keandre Miller is so talented that he sometimes looks a little lackadaisical because he has the confidence in his ability and then doesn't account for the amount of time that he actually has to get rid of the puck. And all of a sudden the forechecker's on him. He rushes the pass to bad pass. And like you said, the Ottawa overtime goal was an example. But there were 2 or 3 against Calgary where he just nonchalant backhands a pass to nobody. And now you're sitting there stuck in your own end for another 30 to 45 seconds. So to me, that's his problem.
This team's back to doing the high flip, and it is.
They can't make the first pass.
Whole thing sucks.
It's ridiculous.
The high flip that we saw at the end of last year that somehow never gets out of the zone. They sky the puck as high as humanly possible to get out of the zone, but it never reaches the blue line, which is crazy.
They're the worst clearing team of all time. The worst clearing team of all time. They just can't get the puck out of their zone.
We also forget Keandre Miller was stuck to Jacob Trouba for most of this year, and that pairing was abysmal. And it was Jacob Trouba because as soon as Trouba left, Keandre Miller turned into their best defenseman. And especially when Adam Fox was out for however many games he was out, he stepped up and was.
Him and Morgan were great. And just because we're
that's
shitting on guys before we head out, because I know we got to head out soon. Carson Soucy sucks. And
are we just going to go down the roster and say who sucks?
I think we've covered everybody. The only person we haven't talked about is Calvin DeHaan, who should be in the lineup.
Rangers, but I don't want besides the tri-state teams, I rarely watch any real West Coast where he was. He's atrocious. And a little bit of it is Drury went and got guys that literally can't play man-to-man on one of the few teams.
I'm glad you said that.
So maybe Carson Soucy in a zone next year is fine. But In a man-to-man, he has no idea what he's doing.
Do we have time to get into that?
The wrong guy and following
He
him.
doesn't.
Like the
Man-to-man
full-line-
requires foot speed. The Rangers do not have foot speed. Their defense
No.
and their offense
Yes.
are not geared to play man-to-man, and it's
That's
been
why our
this is
penalty
game
kill is so
70.
good.
Yes,
We
but
play
it's not a
zone.
shock. It is not a shock that the Rangers penalty kill is so good. And I said this earlier
It's
in the week.
structure.
There's no surprise that the Rangers penalty kill is so good. It's because they instantly switch into a zone. They instantly switch into zone, which like 90% of the NHL plays is a zone. Like man-to-man is for teams that are quick. They're
She's
for
not
teams.
wrong.
I
You know
didn't
what
get to
it
read
is?
that, but
It's because
they're for
fucking
teams that have
Drury
speed. The Rangers are the
Hahn.
slowest team in the National Hockey League and are forced to keep up with guys in the defensive zone. Why do you think there's so many chances? They have like in-zone breakaways. The amount of times this team has given up like an in-zone breakaway this year is incredible because they lose their men because they're so slow. Play a fucking zone. Like adapt.
It should have been done in
adjust.
game
You can't
7.
play man.
It should have been done in game 7. And to me, like, I can't keep harping on it, but you can't keep getting mad at the players when their
Schneider
own
fucking
coach-
sucks. No, Schneider
I'm done
stinks.
with Schneider. I'm done with Schneider.
You can't
He's so
get mad
bad.
at the players all the time when the coach is clearly not seeing the games that are happening in front of him. There has been no reason since the struggle started back in November to continue to stay with that man. If you watch any March Madness game, you know how many times they change their defenses depending on the runs that are going on mid-game? Like, and that's in one game of college basketball. You're an NHL head coach, professional head coach, and you can't make one system adjustment. And yeah, you might say, oh, Phil Housley has to get fired. The head coach is the one that ultimately makes all these decisions. Okay. So yeah, they should fire everybody because the inability to adjust any type of system, and we're not even talking mid-game. We're talking over the course of this is game 70. Game 70, and they're still running man-to-man, giving up all these odd man rushes and odd chances in front. Come on.
Dude, Rex Ryan, Bart Scott tells a story all the time. When he was on the Jets, there was one game that they lost both of their edge rushers and they only played a 3-4 and didn't teach any 4-3. And they only had guys that can play a 4-3. And legitimately in the middle of the game, he called the defense over, ripped up the playbook and said, during this next offensive possession, I'm going to teach you guys how to play a 4-3 defense and we're going to run 3 plays for the rest of the game. Like, good coaches make changes. And like you said, Brendan, Rex Ryan, that's a crazy example in the middle of a game. Like, it's game 70.
Yeah,
you could have done this during
mid-game.
Four Nations. During Four Nations, play a zone defense.
Christmas.
Like, yes, there's so many guys we hate on, but if you think about it, like Trouba, last man that should be playing man-to-man. Lindgren, last guy that should be playing man-to-man. Carson Soucy, last guy that should be playing man-to-man. Adam Fox can play man-to-man, but he doesn't have great foot speed, so he'd probably be better in a zone. Like, so few defensemen can actually play man-to-man, and even if you have some, you have 1 or 2, and you have to roll out 3 lines of defensemen. So like, these
Miller
are
is the
teams
only
that play
defenseman-
man-to-man that for years have been fostering that system, that you can't just come in with players that excelled with a certain system and just change it up on them and refuse to go back. Like, Laviolette is just a bad coach. And I keep talking about the Jets. This is what got Robert Saleh canned. If you only have one style, people will figure out how to beat you so quickly. And if you can't change, like, you're dead. And that's what happened with the Jets on defense. Robert Saleh played one style of defense, and they got bullied this year. And that's what is happening with Peter Laviolette. When you have no foot speed and you play man defense, people will pick you apart. And that's why there's wide open guys in the slot every single game.
I'm going to galaxy brain this a bit, but it just seems like it's a hockey culture thing. It's the culture of hockey is so stubborn to change. So stubborn to change that majority, and we just watch the Rangers enough, but I'm sure 60% of the league has head coaches that are way too stubborn to make any sort of changes throughout the season. And that's why certain teams win. I mean, that's why the Jared Bednars and John Coopers and to an extent, Bruce Cassidy. Like, Bruce Cassidy is a successful. First of all, Sam Rosen can barely get the names right on the broadcast. I don't want him sending trades anywhere.
Now, like, Shesterkin's getting mixed up with like JT.
Yeah,
it's getting bad.
There's no shade at Sam. No shade at Sam ever. He's the best to ever
it
do
sucks that this is the last season that he has to watch and call games.
But if Sam Rosen's the general manager, he might give the wrong name for a trade and we might have the wrong guy come back. So I'd rather him just kind of, go into his retirement, enjoy the rest of his time, staying away from whatever the hell this organization is. But I mean, realistically, you go back to the zone versus man-to-man debate. Like, the only guy they have on the team that has the foot speed to do it and the reach to do it is Keandre Miller. Like, Fox is cerebral enough to know where people are going to be so he can get there. He can cut off angles. But outside of that, I mean, the fact that they run man-to-man defense now 70 games into this year and it's never worked. It barely worked last year. They were very good. They were the best team in the National Hockey League last year in the regular season. They still were a defensive nightmare.
They were still
a defensive nightmare.
The funny thing is, the third best guy at man-to-man, he's not that good, is probably Zach Jones because he's quick. And Laviolette just keeps sitting him. Like, he's actually a guy that fits your, albeit not a great defender, but if you're choosing from a bunch of bad defenders, you choose the guy who's got foot speed. And I've seen Zach Jones man up and play defense. He's never going to be a great defender, but relative to Euro Vakanainen and Carson Soucy and even Dahan, like, you got to have foot speed to play man-to-man. Even if he's not great and doesn't have great defensive IQ, Zach Jones can move around.
Yeah, Vakanainen can't defend off the rush. It's
and Schneider, like, all Schneider does is back glide into Igor. That's all he does on defense. Like, all he does is back glide into Igor and just leave the slot wide. It's like he has no idea what he's doing, Braden Schneider.
It's bad.
Junior.
He's a guy. Do we have term for him next year? Or is he an RFA?
I want to say that he needs a contract.
Because I think he does need a contract. He does need a contract.
See ya, Braden Schneider. Bye.
Well, he's playing himself. If you have him as your third right D, I think you're fine. The problem is that the system doesn't work for him either. No. Braden Schneider has some moments offensively, defensively, where you're like, okay, this kid could be something. And then he has other moments where he's lost. But again, look who he's been paired with over the course of his career. The Rangers have the ability to do the right thing, and they haven't done it. And a lot of these players suffer, and that's why you see players go elsewhere and they start to have success because they're used properly. Ryan Lindgren's being used properly in Colorado, and I haven't seen any bloopers come out of Colorado about him. I think he's been fine. I watched 1 or 2 games, and he's looked – I haven't even noticed him in a bad way because he's not playing with Cale Makar. He's not exposed to the top line forwards of the other team. It is a moronic thing that the Rangers have done over the course of the year, and he might have 1 year left, Schneider. I think they signed him to a 2-year
deal. See ya. Attack him and Loft. See ya.
Either way. All right, so we got a game in 5 minutes. I got to eat some food before this game starts. But before that, are we even doing predictions, or are we all just going to go 0-3?
I mean, it's...
Who is it? It's Toronto,
Vancouver, and then somebody else.
I hate that we're not going to be able to see Hedl. I hate that Heedle's out. I mean, it's
I'm going to get up for the Vancouver
game. That hit was a
game.
bad hit, too.
I'm going to get up for the Vancouver game. And I don't want to say
Vancouver, and LA.
Like, that's why you trade Hedl. Like, that's why the Hedl trade was a no-brainer for that exact reason. And you never want to see a guy get hurt. It was bound to happen. Like, it was going to happen again.
If you thought the 0.75 goals expected goals against Calgary was bad, just wait till they play Los Angeles. They might get to half a goal.
Then they lose.
Wait until they're mathematically out of it. Wait until they'll be negative. It'll be like, this is a team.
No, then they're going to turn it on. Then they're going to be the best team in the league as soon as they're mathematically eliminated.
If there's 5 games left and they're eliminated, they will go 5-0. I have no doubt. I will be betting them every single night. Because that's just it's a joke. It's going to be like an FU to Laviolette and Drury that this is what we could have done all year, but we're not doing it because we're pissed at you guys from trading our buddies.
And just a yes or no, because I know we actually got to go. We like the quick deal?
No.
Yeah. No. I was like, what the hell is that? Like,
what are you doing with Dylan Garand?
13 million?
Yeah, well, what are you doing with Dylan Garand?
That's
not anything to do with quick. It's just, why do you have to give him $1.5 million?
But here's the thing: is it more that, or is it maybe Dylan Garand is not the prospect we think he is?
No, he's good.
I think the Rangers are doing that thing where they're buying into it, and I love Jonathan Quick. The fact that he's good in the locker room, so Drury absolutely values that to an amount where he's going to push away a potential future backup goalie for Igor, which we know Igor can only handle 50 to 55 games because he needs his mental reset. To give Quick $1.5 million to just be a big brother in the locker room. We've seen it with so many guys in the past. He values that more than skill. And like you can see Jonathan Quick deteriorating. He's going back to how he was before he came to us, where he's flopping around.
Well, that's just because the team in front of him sucks. But Dylan Garand has a 9.14 this year in the regular season, and in 2 playoff runs with Hartford, he does not have lower than a 9.22 save percentage. That should be your backup because again, it's another kid that they're going to wind up trading, and he's going to wind up becoming a number 1 somewhere else because they have Shesterkin, which that one I could understand, but if you need a backup goaltender next year and you have a kid that you could probably sign for like $850K, why give the extra $750,000 included in a deal for 1 year to a goaltender that would get something somewhere else where he might actually have a shot at a 4th cup?
By the way, Shesterkin this year is most likely going to play 60 games. He's at 51. He's most likely going to play 9 of the last 12.
If maybe, I mean, if we when we're mathematically eliminated in 4 games, maybe Garand comes up. Get some starts.
Yeah, right. This team's going to do that. No. They're going to wind up putting Carson Soucy in goal because, they have him on the roster next year. We want to see what he's got there.
If we're mathematically eliminated, we'll start seeing Othman in the tops. We'll start seeing guys play where they're actually supposed to be playing, like you guys are saying, and it's going to be so funny. It's going to be so funny.
Well, all I will say is that this show will become a different team show next year if Chris Drury's back.
Dude, there's a Houston team. Did you see that?
I saw that.
There's going to be more teams in the NHL than every other sport combined if Gary Bettman has his way over the next.
The governor of Louisiana was talking about. They spoke with some guys at the NHL for New Orleans team.
Hockey's sexy, man.
No, it's not. They just need money.
Also,
it's the only way they can get money.
Dude, basketball doesn't work in New Orleans. Who thinks hockey's going to work in New Orleans?
The NBA is the worst product in the world.
But I mean, like a sport that's as big as basketball, it doesn't work in New Orleans. What makes you think
you're competing with the NFL and college football, and their college sports are king in Louisiana? So, whatever. If this can't go into college, I gotta go.
Well, you got to go watch college. What are you talking about? You're going to go watch.
That's what I was just gonna say. The Rangers do play in 3 minutes, but after the first period, I'm sure most of us are going to be tuning out and watching March Madness tonight. A couple of big games. My bracket's already destroyed, but
same. I had Clemson in the Final Four.
Oh. No, you did not. That was bold. I had them.
And they were my one big future bet. Like 3 weeks ago, I took them.
Jesus,
jeez, that one's on you.
Well, Zook's a little more busted than I am, but all right. Well, it was fun. I think Steven and I got to speak a little bit towards the end, which was nice. But it was a fun episode, and maybe we'll see a win tonight. I don't know. And if they do, I will screenshot the text from Zook. Back in it. All right, boys. We'll talk next week.
Peace.